Hey you guys, what's up? It's the Anime Blaze coming to you with another video. That is right. And yeah, I just checked out a calendar and apparently it's almost been exactly 2 weeks since I've actually posted the original Q&A video asking for questions. And, you know, I kind of anticipated that it would take me this long to get to it, because last week I had a lot of stuff that I had to take care of, and this week, a lot of my friends are on spring break for college, and I actually get a chance to hang with them, from my high school and everything, and I get a chance to hang with them and talk about stuff and catch up and everything. So yeah, I kind of anticipated a lot of this stuff would happen, and I'd be able to get to the Q&A when I actually got a chance to. But anyways, guys, thanks to everybody who wrote in and decided to ask me questions, and I'm going to be getting to those. Um, and this video, in case you probably haven't figured out or probably have figured out, this video is going to be audio only, just because I don't feel like messing around with a video file, and I kind of want to do something different with this, and maybe see if I can do something else with this as well. Not just a podcast, but also maybe other videos and everything, just to see how things work out and everything. So, with that being said, let's move on to the first round of questions by Walking Double O Dead. The first question asked by Walking Double O Dead: what are my 3 favorite video games? Well, it's kind of weird. It's kind of a hard question to answer because, I mean, I'm not much of a gamer, but at the same time, I do have my select few games that I like to play on the side and everything. But, well, if I had to pick 3, I mean, my first obvious choice would be Kingdom Hearts because, I mean, that game has a lot of stuff in it, from Disney characters and Final Fantasy and everything like that. And it's just got a lot of cool stuff to it that you wouldn't think, would go together. But in all actuality, it paints a really cool picture and, makes for some really awesome gameplay. Although I think that with Kingdom Hearts 3, it needs to end this current saga, and move on to something a little more, I don't know, maybe a little more gritty, or to move on to some other characters and hopefully get a new theme song. The second game, is also made by Square Enix, was The World Ends With You. And this game gets a lot of flack, for the dual screen combat that, you have to do to go through battles and everything like that, which is why a lot of people opt out from the DS version to go to the iOS and Android versions of the game. Now, I don't personally have a problem with either versions of those games, but because it's pretty much the same thing as the one that was released back in like 2008, I think. But I guess the one gripe I do have about it is the fact that it took out the top screen gameplay, and that mostly added to the game. And yeah, was it a gimmick for the whole thing of like, oh, it's co-op, trust your partner? Yeah, it was a gimmick, but at the same time, it really added to the effect of the gameplay, of the relationship between the characters, and it kind of made you feel like you actually have to balance it out. It actually played a major role in the gameplay footage and in the gameplay and everything. So, kind of disappointed that they took that part out and changed it up. Now, on to the third game. This is still a toss-up because I don't actually have a third official favorite game. It's like a toss-up between 3 or 4 different games. One being Xenosaga, that a lot of people know for being like a really, really good RPG game that was released on the PlayStation 2. And, from what I can tell, it dates back to the Xenogears game, which I've never actually played. But Xenosaga is definitely one of my favorites. I'm still trying to beat the first one when I haven't exactly gotten a chance to play it in a while. But it's definitely one of my favorites, and I'm glad that I have all 3 of the games to be able to play through when I need to, or when I want to and everything. Second game, yes, another game made by Square Enix, or Squaresoft, I should say. It was one of the first PlayStation 2 games ever released, and that game was The Bouncer. It was a beat-em-up game that came out in like 2000 or 2001. It was kind of like a cinematic, adventure RPG kind of thing. Most beat-em-up games just have it to where it's like, oh, you go through the game, beat up enemies, and that's about it. But this one was, I would say, was at least a little bit different, whereas it actually had a really not really a too involved storyline, but it had a storyline nonetheless that involved real characters with names, kind of to try to get you intrigued into it, and at the same time had RPG elements to where you go and beat up enemies, you gain experience points, and from there you can use those experience points to either upgrade attacks, learn new attacks and moves, and upgrade your health and defense, and different stuff like that. And it was pretty revolutionary, I would say, for its time, because you don't really see too many beat 'em ups that are have those same kind of elements anymore. And it's kind of, it came out on PlayStation 2. I don't expect it to get an HD remake or even really a sequel, but it's just a really cool game to play if you ever have the chance to play it on, the actual system itself. It's pretty cheap and you can get your hands on it easily, so it's definitely worth playing. Another game that I beat not too long ago, about a week or two ago. It's one of my favorite games. It's BioShock 2 for the PS3. It's like, I played the first one. I still haven't beat the first one, honestly, but I just like the feel that it has. Like, you're in an underwater city that's gone to ruins and everything. And in the second one, you get to play as the infamous Big Daddy that everybody, you could tell that, I guess, just from looking at the first game, that a lot of people were just hyped and like, whoa, man, I actually get to play as one of those dudes, be indestructible and, get the drill and the shotguns and all the different stuff, man. It's like, oh man, that's going to be sick. And it really had, just like the first one, it really had a really intriguing storyline that was in-depth and based a lot of its stuff, its endings and everything, off the choices that you make, whether you choose to use the little sisters and harvest them for their atom, or save them. It really just depends on what you do. And I really like that it involves that. Now, another game that I probably have that's for the same spot for number 3 is Persona 3. I think it was published by Atlas, part of the Shin Megami Tensei series. Now, I don't know if you guys have heard about Shin Megami Tensei, but their games are known for being some of the hardest RPG games ever made, dating straight back to the NES and the Super Nintendo back in the day, which the games were only released, in Japan, but there have been English patches for them as well. But those were some of the hardest RPG games I've ever played. I'm still playing Devil Survivor to this day, and there's still like 2 or 3, no, not 2 or 3, but like at least 6 or 7 different multiple endings that you can play the game through to get. And it's just really fun and difficult, but frustrating and rewarding at the same time. So if you guys have never played any of them, I really recommend you play them. The gameplay is phenomenal. If you want a challenge, not a game like that's just going to put you into a battle into where it's going to be easy and you can win easily, then I'd recommend you play some of either the Persona games or just any Shin Megami Tensei game in general, because you're going to be in for a treat. Now, the honorable mentions, I know you asked for 3 favorite games, but games that I would put into the honorable mentions category just because, I like playing them, but, whatevs. Mickey's Castle of Illusion for the Sega Genesis. That game was really, really fun to play. It was pretty awesome. It's a simple game to play, but even at the time that the game came out, from what I've seen and what people have told me, is that it was revolutionary. It brings back memories for a lot of people, and it's a really great platformer to play, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I really want to play the HD remake for the PS3, and really get my hands on that to see how they revamped everything. So yeah, I really, really want to do that. The other game would be Sparkster or Rocket Knight, which pretty much is the same thing. It was a really neat platformer that had, the whole jumping mechanics, swinging off of stuff and everything like that. But this game gave you a jetpack and let you ride off of different stuff and just fly all over the place and deal out extra damage. And it looks really cool. I think it was for the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. So yeah, if you guys have never played Sparkster or Rocket Knight, I really recommend you go out and get your hands on it, a physical copy, and play them, because it's really, really cool from what I've seen. I haven't actually played it yet, but it looks awesome. Second question by Walking 00 Dead. what are, your favorite creatures slash monsters in anime and manga? Well, for the time being, I guess I could say my personal favorite right now has been vampires. And the reason for that is because I mean, yeah, I get pissed off because it's a trend. It's not even like anybody just brought vampires back just to be like, oh, it's like we haven't seen anything like this in a while. Let's try to, write, a story based off of vampires. It's like, no, ever since Twilight's happened, everything's just become a trend. But, especially in anime has done it too. It's no different from anything else. Anime and manga, it's same deal. But a few things that I like is that it takes things a little bit different and does things in its own kind of way. For example, Shiki it takes the original story with vampires back to its roots with vampires versus humans, and by the end of the show it makes you question, who are the real monsters? Was it the vampires or was it the humans who were killing them? And it really goes back to human instincts and survival and stuff too. And that's one thing I really liked about it. Then there was Vampire Knight. Did it have a love triangle? Yeah. But did it have a story and plot? Yeah, it also had a story and plot. But was it Twilight? No. For some weird reason, it still managed to be totally different from Twilight, which I really do appreciate about it. Then you have awesome stuff like Blood the Last Vampire, which probably is like, if I say anything, it probably brought, vampires back to its more modern day roots and just did something really freaking awesome with it. And I really loved it. Now, if I had to go off the beaten path and not choose something mainstream, I'd probably go with the creatures from Parasite, which, take over the humans' bodies and, minds and try to do all this weird, crazy stuff and everything just to survive and everything. That and or the creatures from a manga series called Inugami, which I haven't exactly gotten to read thoroughly, but I have checked out from, first few parts of it, and from what I've seen, it's talking animals that have been, or animals that have been experimented on, experimentations, and they've gained the ability to talk, and it seems like to be a cross between sci-fi and horror, and it pretty much has enough content and gore and stuff with human beings and animals in it to get PETA on its case and involved in it, which I kind of hope it doesn't. At some point in time, I really hope PETA stays and gets their nose out of it and realizes that this isn't even a real thing. It's fake. It's fiction. But we all know how that usually goes. But anyway, on to the third question asked by Walking Double O Dead. The best non-mainstream cyberpunk anime that I could recommend or that I've seen or something. Honestly, if I had to choose like not something that wasn't really mainstream, something that people probably have heard of, maybe just seen or something like that, I'd probably have to go with Battle Angel Alita. Again, I haven't read too much of this series either, but from what people have told me and for what I've read, it seems like it has a lot of positive views and a lot of good stuff going behind it, especially the second manga series. I think it's called the Battle Angel Alita The Last Order or something like that. And to me, that looks pretty decent. Now, if I had to choose something that wasn't, cyberpunk and, just straight up sci-fi, I'd probably have to go with Project Blue Earth SOS. It's not cyberpunk. It's more like an anime, a sci-fi anime based off of like 1950s and maybe even early 1900s sci-fi, with stuff like the person who wrote The Time Machine. I can't remember his name, but it's sci-fi movies that came out during the 1950s and everything like that. Even right down to the technology and even the music is kind of like that. So I really do appreciate that, and it's really awesome. Okay, the second round of questions asked by the man Jim George Baker. First question asked by him: are you planning on getting the J-Stars Victory Versus game when it comes to America? Honestly, man, I haven't seen too much of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure to say that I would buy it, but from what I've seen from people like the anime hero, who's to him it really inspired a lot of the stuff that he does, from, you know, the whole manly genre of anime and stuff itself to even down to his how it influenced a lot of his art style and his artistic abilities and everything like that, I would say it's probably worth looking into. I mean, it's got to have some kind of hype behind it, you know, and have it's got to be some kind of interesting to, you know, have this much hype behind it, and, you know, to influence somebody's, you know, art and everything that they do. So I figure, hey, you know, it might be worth getting. But for now, I'll have to add it to, you know, the list of games I'm going to buy / import. You know, if, you know, and yeah, I know it's getting a US release and everything like that, but it's still going to be added to the list with Dengeki Bunko, Fighting Climax, Saint Seiya Brave Soldiers, and Saint Seiya Battle Sanctuary. Even though those two games are on the PlayStation Network, I still plan on importing those from the UK, just to get my hands, you know, on an actual physical copy of the game. And Dengeki Bunko, you know, Finding Climax, I still have to import that from Japan. So, yeah, you know, it kind of stuck. It kind of sucks, but hey, it's worth it to me. Second question, asked by Jim George Baker. What manga series would I like to be turned into an anime? This question was actually kind of tough for me because I looked at a lot of the different manga and stuff that I've read, and a lot of the different manga that, you know, I'm really into. My first choice was gonna be Dragon Knights, but that series is more along the lines of like a 90s anime kind of vibe. And even if you were to go and look up the art style and some of the pages from this manga, you would see that it kind of screams 90s, and it has a lot of similarities to the Slayers anime series. And I don't know if anybody else has noticed, but there have been a lot of different Slayers quote unquote clones, or like shows and just OVAs that were just really, really similar to the Slayers with the whole Dungeons and Dragons. And I just think maybe that was a trend that was going on during the 90s. I don't know. But I don't think that would be a good series that could be turned into an anime. And especially with the way the plot was going, that a lot of people have told me that it gets a little bit confusing, and some of the stuff that happens throughout it just doesn't warrant an anime. But if I had to make a definite choice, I would go with Muyo and Roji's BSI, or Bureau of Supernatural Investigation. This series has a lot of great action that goes along with it, and I freaking love it. You want to talk about an anime that has supernatural elements and maybe some horror elements to it, and a really great, intriguing story, this would be the series I'd recommend. Unfortunately, for myself, I'm going to be probably importing the series, and it's like, yeah, I know it's in English, but I want to import the series because I found out that Viz Media took out like a bunch of different pages from not just one, but like I think about 3 or 4 volumes from like towards the end of the series. And it's like, I'm tired of having my stuff that I like, and, you know, and stuff that I like and I want to buy censored. And especially when the series itself deals with a lot of serious topics with either, I guess, depression or death of family members and friends, and just revenge and vengeance and stuff like that. And it's like, if the series is already serious enough, it's like, what more do you possibly need to do to like melt it down? It's like, so, you know, but yeah, if you guys want to buy it, then go right ahead. I'm right there with you, but I'm going to be importing mine. Sorry. Last question, asked by Jem George Baker. Are you afraid of global warming? To be honest with you, I would say yeah, because, I mean, there are a lot of naysayers that say like, oh, well, global warming, I don't believe in that crap. And it's like, but obviously there is a giant hole in the ozone layer. You know, we have pictures of the atmosphere that can, you know, show this stuff actually happening. And we can link it back to greenhouse gases, you know, coming from cars and gasoline. And on top of that, it's like, you know, I understand the whole thing of like, okay, ice melts. Ice does melt, but it doesn't make any sense for like large chunks and pieces of ice that have been like frozen for like decades and centuries. at the poles of the north and south, of the Earth, to just suddenly just start melting out of nowhere and just like completely drastically start doing that. It's like that doesn't exactly happen. I mean, heck, the ice caps on Mars are still frozen, and there aren't any really greenhouse gases or anything really going on there, because we're not living there. But those things are still frozen, and there's got to be some kind of connection for the ice caps to just start melting suddenly and like drastically over years and years. And it kind of, more so than anything, I think I'm afraid of the people who deny that it actually is possible for these things to just start happening, and it not just to be some false fluke that that doesn't happen. But by the time, I would say that by the time the full effects of global warming start happening, I'd probably be dead by then, or it won't be that bad. I don't know, but we got to do something. That's just my own personal opinion. What do you guys think? Now, the next round of questions are asked by my man, the anime hero, the guy who I was talking about earlier. His first question is, who is your favorite robotic / cyborg / android in fiction? Mostly, I don't really read too many fictions actually dealing with sci-fi, believe it or not. But, it's mostly dealing with anime. But if I had to pick from, I guess, anime, it'd probably be Motoko Kusanagi from Ghost in the Shell, or Below from Marduk Scramble. Motoko Kusanagi, just because she's like a badass with everything that she does. She's like a really respectable female lead character that you don't exactly see too often in anime. Matter of fact, she's in charge of the whole Section 9, I guess, as far as like missions go, carrying out her team and everything. And then Below, she's a pretty strong female lead from Marduk Scramble, a girl who was raped and then pretty much left for dead. Was resurrected using cyborg technology and everything, and now she has to go and battle a case against the person who wanted her dead, and she has to confront all of these feelings and emotions that she dealt with over the years of being raped and becoming a prostitute and everything like that, and just trying to reintegrate back into society, and really just she has to deal with like really raw, just straight up raw emotions. Does she like give in to violence and dish out what these people probably deserve, or does she just let go of it and live a normal life as a human being? And I really do like that aspect of it. So yeah, those are my two favorites in fiction. Second question asked by the anime hero: what sparked your interest in sci-fi anime such as Ghost in the Shell and Captain Harlock? Now, both of these, I kind of haven't, like, they're kind of on the same level because they're very similar with, like, why I like them and everything. But, at the same time, I both like them. I like them both for different reasons as well. Ghost in the Shell, I like that series mostly dealing with the fact that it's dealing with technology, and I guess as far as like psychology goes, or just with like human beings, I guess curiosity and everything, one of the fields that's kind of that we really haven't discovered or really went into was the idea of I guess unknown frontiers. What do we actually really know about these things? And Ghost in the Shell really does explore that with the technology, with AI technology. Like, do we actually, do robots actually think? Do robots, all this stuff actually feel? And it kind of harkens back to the whole singularity theory, which I strongly do believe that singularity is a theory for right now until it actually does happen. And unless we have, like, I'd probably have to do more research on it, but from what I've seen, there hasn't really been any really strong evidence to suggest that singularity will happen anytime soon. I guess at least in my lifetime, anyway. I mean, yeah, there are AI technologies that have been invented with, I can't remember what the name of it was, but there's like some AI technology computer that you can actually type in, and it'll have like a conversation with you based off of just different ideas and stuff and different comments and questions that people have asked it, and it's really amazing. It's pretty much on par with like with human thoughts right now, and that's pretty amazing if you ask me. The other aspect, was with Captain Harlock was, I guess there's two aspects to that show. The first reason that it got my interest was the fact of Captain Harlock really just, like, his character really speaking to, I guess, my inner personality of who I want to be and who I feel that I am. He's kind of the romantic protagonist who goes by his own ideals and really just tosses, the conventional archetypes out the window and lives by his own rules and everything. And that's kind of what I do. And at the same time, I kind of try to do the right thing, even though sometimes it might seem like it's controversial, or, somebody might not like exactly what it is I'm doing to try and help somebody or something like that. And, it might not always be the right thing, it might not always be seen or be taken in the right way, but it might be some kind of like self-righteous kind of thing. I don't know, but I really do feel that, if we had a lot more people that were kind of like Captain Harlock, that, maybe weren't so much vigilante, because, vigilantism isn't exactly solved too much really, but, I really do feel that if we had more people that were kind of like Captain Harlock with like his general characters, at least try to do the right thing and everything like that, that, we could, get some stuff done in the world and everything. And the other aspect of, Captain Harlock was what I was talking about before with the unknown. There are many different aspects, or there are few aspects of life, I should say, that we really don't know about, and that are and probably will remain for a while at least to be unknown. Some of those being, the deep dark depths of the ocean, which, no light shines at all. Some animals, some creatures are permanently blind, and, we've never really been so far down there, and we haven't even really explored that much of it. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, we know more about there's somewhere that I read that we know more about the surface of our moon than the actual depths of the ocean on our own planet. So that's kind of weird and cool at the same time. Also with that same aspect, death, we don't exactly know what lies after death unless, you're religious, and stuff like that, and you have like a perception of what you think might actually lie after death, stuff like that. But, the point still remains, nobody really truly knows what lies after death, and, until they actually die. And there's nobody really to write down, what they see or what happens or anything like that, really. And, with the soul leaving the body and everything like that, there's nobody to write about it. So it's still an unknown. And then, the other unknown, which, Captain Harlock really explores, as well as being death, being one of them, is the unknown, and the unknown of space travel and space in general. Captain Harlock freaking travels out on the Arcadia, scouring planets, different galaxies, solar systems, and doing all he can, exploring different stuff. And it's like, he still hasn't scratched the surface of anything, really. I mean, there was Harlock Saga, where he literally went to the center of the universe and prevented the universe from collapsing on itself. That was pretty cool. But it's just the unknown, that's, and kind of, I guess you could say, the romanticism of Captain Harlock that lies in the whole, death and space are infinite, eternity. There are things that are unknown, we haven't explored. Man has yet to conquer those things, and I doubt that we will. Even for generations and generations, I strongly doubt that we will ever be able to conquer them. But it's pretty interesting. Those are the reasons why, if you guys want to know. Third question asked by the Anime Hero. Third and last question. When it comes to psychological anime, I think it works best with an episodic structure like an anthology. Do you agree with this, or care to share your thoughts on the subject? And he gave some examples, being Hellgirl and Paranoia Agent, and maybe a few others. And yeah, I would care to to share my thoughts on this, because it's actually pretty interesting. And For those of you guys who don't know, I actually talked about um, some different psychological anime and a lot of different stuff along those lines back when I first started my channel back in like 2011 or 2012. And my thoughts have, I guess, changed, or I've gotten a little bit more in depth with it. And honestly, I guess to answer your question, Hero, for the most part, I think it really just depends on what the series is trying to achieve. And by that, I mean, like, for example, like atmosphere. If a series is trying to set itself up to tell some kind of myth or legend, like Hellgirl or uh, Hellgirl the character and Little Slugger, and Paranoia Agent, or is it setting itself up to make people think about the world around them? Because psychological shows um, Serial Experiments Lain and Hibernate Renmei that really just dive more so into the depths of not so much really what the story is presenting to you as far as like building up rumors and all this other stuff, but more so along the lines of making you reflect on reality. Serial Experiments Lain dealt with a lot of stuff with your perception of the internet. Do you change personalities when you go on the internet? Hacker groups. I think I've read somewhere that it actually predicted a lot of the different hacker groups, people acting as one group and stuff like that, like Anonymous, but I'm not sure exactly. I read somewhere like that. It was pretty interesting. But, that or Hibernate Renmei that deals with death and everything like that, to try to give those thoughts and opinions on different things. And, and I think, for example, like, Hellgirl works best when it's episodic because the way she's talked about in the show isn't so much where it's like, oh, we're trying to give you a perception or an ideal on real life, even though you can get some of those concepts from it. But it's more referring to her as like a rumor or a legend on the website. You contact her, you type in the name of whoever it is that you want dead, or you want banished to hell, and then they're gone and everything. And that's how they describe her in the show. Not so much that she's trying to change your perception on reality and everything. Paranoia Agent kind of does, I would say, try to mess with your mind. It's more so on the level with Serial Experiments Lain, but at the same time, it still fits into the same concept with the character of Little Slugger going around hitting people with a baseball bat, and the individual cases are investigated as they happen, kind of like real life. If a crime happens, the police go and investigate it, and the show investigates a lot of those stuff real time, just like individual cases, which makes it better for the show to be episodic, to be able to individually go and investigate each of those cases like it was real life, episodic and everything. And a few other examples I actually have, are kind of weird, but manga like Tomie, which the chapters were so episodic in nature, and it pretty much reflected on how Tomie effectively destroys people's lives. The series itself never really relies on a single continuity, of different events happening, that are connected, minus a few characters that actually instigate situations continuously throughout the series. That's about it. Then you have series like Higurashi, which again I emphasize the whole thing on atmosphere. It builds up the atmosphere of a small, friendly little village, but it turns out to be like it's run with problems of its own. More problems than we actually know about, and it's more so built around. It's better to be built around episodic, structure with that series because it's trying to maintain a single continuity, for the most part, but it's really trying to build up a legend of Hinamizawa, of it being this quiet, friendly village, but it's not as quiet and friendly as you might think it is. But it also tries to give you that main continuity kind of storyline by breaking things up and retelling stuff, but it's kind of confusing even when you go back and look at the second season that tries to explain it. But that's pretty much my take on it, man. Then you have Shiki, which is kind of like Higurashi. It builds up the storyline almost exactly the same way, but instead of choosing the episodic route, it opts out for one continuing story that follows all the way through to the end, and it actually works out. So again, that's what they were going for with that show. Two specific examples. Higurashi went for a more episodic route, and Shiki went for one continuing storyline. And yeah, for the most part, man, it really just depends on what the series is trying to achieve. Is it trying to be a legends and myth, or is it trying to give you one straight up storyline? And I might also add that it's kind of weird because, Shiki has that kind of legendy myth kind of vibe going for the village, but it's kind of weird how it actually turns out to be a story, like one continuing story, and not something like Higurashi. So it's weird how they did that. But yeah, on to the the last slew of questions asked by one of my friends on YouTube, Merlin the Mighty, or or Merlino Boss, depending, he changes his name up from time to time. First question asked by him, what aspect of Ghost in the Shell do you like best? Now, man, you gave me a freaking hard question to answer, man, and I'm being like 100% like legit. This is like a really hard question to answer. I mean, for me, I like how Ghost in the Shell includes a lot of the philosophical ideas throughout the series that deals with existence and I guess really just day-to-day life of living and different stuff like that. And how it pertains to their society. But at the same time, man, while I am a lover of philosophy, I study in my free time and everything, I gotta say that I'm a sucker for the tech in Ghost in the Shell, man. I freaking am. I mean, have you seen it? For real, I mean, like, have you really, really seen it? On the surface, it just looks like futuristic mumbo jumbo that just thrown into there for special effects and is just there, and that's about it. But let me give you a little insight from somebody that's actually like looked into this. Most of the concepts of the technology that are in Ghost in the Shell are based off of crude concepts that have been drawn up and thought about over the past couple of years. They're crude concepts, and it's based off of current technology and I'd say almost 100% theory. But if you actually look into it, a lot of those concepts aren't so much impossible. I've actually looked into the fact of, especially with nanotechnology, involving the human immune system. It's pretty amazing. It said something along the lines of, like, if we actually were able to harness nanotechnology, which we are able, we're trying to do now with like nanotech glass and all this other stuff. I read somewhere that if we actually are able to really get into and harness nanotechnology for what it is, that we might be able to actually improve the human immune system. Whereas like people who have like different problems, like people who have weak immune systems through cancer and stuff like HIV, which significantly weakens the human immune system, with a lot of the different stuff like that, we might actually be able to, get the human body to recognize, that this stuff is happening. Like, hey, nanotechnology. And the cool part about nanotechnology is the fact that it's a bunch of micro machines and like computers and everything. It's really, really cool. And the cool part about that is that you can program them, and programming them means you can program them to do what you want to do. And with that being said, you could program these micro machines to, on a molecular level, go out and recognize these different strands of viruses, and theoretically, keep in mind this is all theory, theoretically eliminate them. Or at least significantly reduce them. And a lot of people say that, it's purely speculation right now, but a lot of people actually think that with nanotechnology, we might actually be able to eliminate cancer and HIV. But again, it's just theory, based off of different concepts, crude concepts and theories and current technology. But it's actually pretty interesting. Um, and I think I read somewhere else that on top of nanotechnology, you look into the fact of like, okay, well, the micro machines are there. How do we keep them going? It's like it's not so much as simple that they're just a one time thing. We program them to do this and that, and that's about it. You have to have some kind of central hub, quote unquote, central hub. Focus now, to keep these things circulating and reprogram them and really just keep them going throughout the human body. And you know, I'm a guy who's involved with with networking technology and a lot of different stuff like that. So when I hear words like hub, I think different stuff that's like routing and everything. Hubs and routing send information to a lot of different stuff throughout a network, and a lot of case it's the brain of said network that does that. And you know, theoretically speaking, cyberbrains could be that hub that sends and reprograms, that's constantly sending out and reprogramming these micro machines to keep the system in check, so that they aren't just floating needlessly around your body, just doing random stuff. And that that in itself is like really worth looking into. I don't know how many people have actually looked into it, but if you get a chance to really just look into a lot of the concepts between with Ghost in the Shell, between the nanotechnology and the AI technology itself, it's really really cool. It's really really cool to look up on, man. Definitely do when you get the chance. Um, Second question. Second question asked by Merlin. What's your favorite part of Galaxy Express 39? In case you guys don't know what that series is, it's made by Leiji Matsumoto, the same guy who made Captain Harlock. And honestly, I'd have to say that my favorite part of this series would have to be just the romantic idea of floating around, going through space on a train that travels through space on an eternal vacation, seeing things that you could only imagine seeing. I mean, especially in today's day and age, it's like, yeah, we can see through technologies. Yeah, we get all these pictures of these different galaxies and solar systems, but they're just pictures. We're not actually there. And it's like, Leiji Matsumoto has a way of, with the writing, with the show, and just the ideas of like, man, one day we could actually be doing some stuff like that. Maybe not so much a train traveling through space, because that's freaking ridiculous, but a steam powered train traveling through space nonetheless. But just the idea of going on an eternal vacation, flying through space, seeing all these different things, it's really really it's really really comforting, I guess I could say. Um, yeah. And the third and final question asked by Merlin was, what's your favorite shonen series? See, this is where you're going to start tripping me up, man, because I don't even remember the last time I've actually watched a shonen anime series, let alone a series that just had shonen elements in it. Um, I mean, if we're going by loose terms, I'd have to say Claymore, hands down. Um, I don't know about the anime, maybe more so the manga. Well, kind of on the same level. Um, the writing in it is from what I've seen is like really really amazing. The part that I've gotten up to anyway. The characters minus Rocky is really really good, and I just like the atmosphere and a lot of the stuff that it goes into. It's just I just really like it. I don't know what it is. I just like the series in general. But I mean, if you want to go by a series or a show with more obvious character tropes, I'd have to say a show that's like freaking Zatch Bell or March Awakens Romance, and even further, I guess, with even sports anime, with shows like IGPX or Future GPX Cyber Formula, which is show that was like during the '90s and stuff, still a racing anime. Those shows, kind of have the same kind of shonen elements and everything like that to it. So yeah, it's that. Yeah, it seems that I'm out of questions to answer. But yeah. Anyways, guys, I just want to say thanks to everybody who sent in questions. Everybody who congratulated me on reaching 300 subscribers. It's been a really cool ride getting here, and I don't intend to give up anytime soon. And I really just want to try to get my channel to the level that I feel comfortable, where it should be at, and really just do a lot of the different things, or the things that I want to try to do in the future when I have the ability to do it, to do something to get my channel to reach its full potential. And I really just thank everybody that's helped me get to this point. And I really want to appreciate it. I really appreciate it, guys. So, with that being said, this is the Anime Blaze signing out, saying, never doubt your capabilities, because you never know what you might be able to do. Trust me, it always works. And I'll see you guys in the next video of whatever it may be happening that I decide to do. Later.